When it comes to shaping the fitness industry from the ground up, today's guest is a true original. He is a creative force, a trailblazing presenter, a master educator, and yes, he is also the father of our amazing son, Tyler. Welcome to Group X Appeal. Today, we are thrilled to continue our Dads Who Empower series with the one and only Rob Glick. Rob has helped innovate some of the most recognizable fitness formats out there. His career has taken him to international stages, inside corporate boardrooms, and into the hearts of thousands of instructors and class attendees across the world.
Rob, we're celebrating today, is more than a fitness icon. He's a dad who shows up, a man who's navigated life, love, fatherhood, and reinvention with passion, authenticity, and heart. This conversation is full of the real stuff, how being a father has changed him, how he's evolved over time, and how he continues to empower others by staying true to who he is. Let's welcome a man we both respect deeply, not just as a fellow fitness professional, but as an amazing human being.
Hey there, welcome to Group X Appeal. I'm Kimberly Glick.
And I'm Terry Shorter. We're excited to bring you this hot and sweaty podcast.
With over 25 years of experience each in the health and fitness industry, we're here to share hilarious, heartwarming stories from our lives and careers.
And offer practical nutrition tips, expert exercise advice, and strategies for holistic well-being and a positive mindset.
Group X Appeal is your go-to source for inspiration, motivation, and a few laughs along the way.
So tune in and let us help you be the healthiest, happiest version of you.
Welcome to Group X Appeal. Kimberly Glick here with
Terry Shorter.
We are so glad you joined us today. We are continuing our series called Dads Who Empower, and we happen to have my favorite dad on today because he happens to be the father of our son, Tyler Glick, and that is the fabulous Rob Glick. So Rob, how are you, my dear?
Fantastic. So good to be here with you both.
So glad to have you. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Appreciate you taking the time. We know how busy you are doing all the things. So thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
My absolute pleasure. It's be fun.
Yeah.
So you've heard the intro, you've got a little bit of background about Rob, but we're going to dig quite a bit deeper. So we wanted to kind of first find out, Rob, if you can share with the listeners, if you can kind of share how you found group exercise, what you love most about it, and why you're still doing it to this day.
Yeah, it's quite a funny story. I was going, start over? Do I start over?
No, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, it's such a funny story. So I grew up with my first love being surfing. And when I was surfing all the time, people were talking about this thing called aerobics, which was anything but. It was completely anaerobic.
Right.
I'm going to go check this out. And I went to a club called Nautilus, and I tried it. And I was terrible at it, but I was intrigued. I was like, oh my gosh, this is hard, but very fun. And so I started going regularly and just kind of fell in love with it, and just started to become something that I would do in my off time, go over to this Nautilus gym and take classes, and never thought about teaching. And then a number of years later, there was a place in Mission Viejo, California called Aerobic Body Works, and that became the place. And I started going there and taking classes. Oh my gosh, they were so fun and so intense, and just such a great camaraderie. And I was in school thinking I was going to be a pilot. But back at that time, when you went all the time and people would ask you, oh, you should teach. And there was a deep part of me that I wanted to so badly. I looked so up to the instructors, and I wanted to be them, or at least be one of them. And so I had at my college, I was doing a junior college at the time called Orange Coast College. They had a fitness specialist program. So I took anatomy and physiology and jumped into this program with a gentleman by the name of Leon Ski that ran it. And I fell in love with it. Changed my major, went into exercise science, athletic training, nutrition, transferred to Chapman, University of Chapman, and got my degree in exercise science with a focus on becoming a physical therapist. Just loved learning about the human body so much, and really like what a miracle we are. And so I started in my internship in physical therapy, but that whole time, in order to pay for school, I was working in different gyms and different health clubs and teaching and doing all of that. So I started teaching, and personal training was brand new. And people would ask me to train them, and I'm like, I know how to train me, but I don't feel comfortable training you. So as soon as I finished that program, I started to have more confidence and feeling like I could help people. And so I was doing some personal training, teaching classes, getting my degree in what I thought would be to be a physical therapist. And after I started doing my internship in physical therapy, I quickly realized I like this group fitness side. I like this personal training side because people are coming to me for help,
right,
and asking if I can help them versus a life situation putting them in my care. And both are wonderful, and I have so much respect and just think so highly of that field. But for my character, for my personality, I really gravitated more toward people saying, how can you help me? Versus, oh man, I had this injury and now I'm here. And so I just stayed in the health club industry. And I thought probably, I would say for the first 10 years, this was something that I would do until I figured out what I wanted to do. And
How'd that go?
I know, right? It must have been 10, 15 years later that I woke up and go, oh, wait, this is what I do.
I love doing this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I, through all of that, I had an opportunity to buy one of the clubs that I was a trainer in. The owner said, hey, I'm kind of want to focus on something else, and you're here all the time. Would you like to purchase it? And I was like, oh my God, yes. So I purchased, it was called the Girls Gym in Newport Beach, and I owned that health club, and then that's when group fitness was just blowing up. And I had the opportunity, as you mentioned in the intro, to start traveling around the world and teaching all over the world. And I just loved that so much, so I had to make a choice. So I sold that club, moved up to LA, started teaching in some of the premier boutiques up there, Voight Fitness and Dance Center, later Madonna Grimes Fitness Theater, and just traveling and presenting. So that's kind of a short overview of about 15 years.
And traveling, he did. Like you would go to Europe and basically live there for a month to 3 months just teaching and presenting, right?
Absolutely. I had a friend of
crazy.
mine who had a studio in a place called Neuchâtel, Switzerland. So during the week, Monday through Thursday, I would guest teach at her place. And then just every weekend there was a conference somewhere, whether it was in Italy or France or Spain or Portugal or Germany or Scandinavia, whatever. So every weekend you go to a conference, teach for 3 days, teach at her place, be gone for 3 weeks to a month, come back and go back to the studios in LA.
Wow. Globetrotter.
Right? Quite a life. Oh, gosh.
It was fun. Very fun.
All right. Well, we got some questions coming your way. And the first one we have for you is, how has being a father influenced your approach to your personal fitness and to your work?
I think it's that almost stereotypical thing people say that you can't explain it until you have children. And I completely respect all of the people out there who are listening who choose not to have children, and that's a great path too, and what you're doing with your life, especially if you're listening to Group X Uphill because you've dedicated your life to helping others. But for me, I have never known that kind of love. The kind of love, the second my first was born, her name is Danny, and she came into the world, and you're like, okay, and it was so interesting because the second she's born, there's a level of responsibility. I was still very immature, just so immature, and then she comes, and you're like, all right, I'm responsible for this life, 100%. Especially in those first couple years of their life, there's just, if they don't have strong parents there supporting them and family, then they can't survive, right? And so it just changed everything. It literally changed everything. It changed my relationship to love. It changed my relationship to relationships, and definitely understanding that responsibility.
Yeah, life changing for sure.
Yeah, it's like a shift in priorities.
It is.
Did you find that you ended up being less focused on your personal fitness because you had this additional responsibility, or did it cause you to be more focused because you wanted to be, strong and healthy as a dad?
That's such a good question. I don't think I was conscious about it at the time. Just, like really into being there for Danny as much as I could, and just, like just so in love with this human being, and at the same time very focused on what I was doing, right? Just so focused on. So I don't think I became conscious of your question until our son was born, Tyler. Because now I'm an older dad, right? And I've got
Not that old.
this son coming into the world, and I'm like, I want to do the things. Like I want to surf with him, I want to ski with him, I want to, be able to play with him at the level that he wants to play throughout his entire life. And so in order for that to happen, my focus on fitness took a whole different approach, right? A whole different like just level of need that I'd never thought about before. Because before it was just doing the thing, right? It's just what I did. It's just what we did.
True.
Got it. So, and what strategies, Rob, have you found, now most effective for making quality time with your family while managing your career? And I realize that, it's like you just said, your career has evolved quite a bit, but to date, what are some of the strategies that have been most effective for you?
I mean, it's such a good question, and unfortunately, if being completely candid and authentic, that work-life balance has always been a work of life for me.
Sure.
Luckily, I'm passionate about what we do, and I look forward every day to
it shows.
Yeah, to going and figuring out. And what shifted, I think, a lot, like in those younger, immature days of teaching, it was about being on stage. And now it's about helping people, right? But my love and passion for the industry has only grown. Just the way I approach it has changed so much. So I'm still every day thinking, how can I get more and more people to make the choice to find their joy, find their passion, the thing that they decide to choose to have a healthy, active way of life, And that hasn't changed ever. It's just become so much more focused on the members, the people who come to classes, the people that we get to touch. In that, with my kids, it's just as much integration as possible. How can we spend time doing these things together? And it's been so wonderful. Like, my daughter's kind of approach to fitness was dance, and supporting them through dance and being at their dance shows and just showing up, right? And then I think the most important thing is role modeling, right? Like I think, it doesn't matter what we say, it matters what we do. And I still have so much work there in so many places in my life to be the best role model I can for our son Tyler and girls. But you just watch it evolve, right? Like especially with Danny and Jordan, my two daughters. You don't know that your healthy way of life is having an impact on their life because they're young and they're kids and they're doing their thing and they're eating how they eat and all that kind of stuff. But then you see as they mature into these amazing women that making a deliberate choice to have a healthy and active life and being conscientious about what they eat and how they take care of themselves and how they take care of each other. Okay, there was something there, right?
Sure.
And our son Tyler, he's like.
He's a beast.
It's just I don't even know. I think he just came into this world with a mission. People are like, "Oh, it's because of you and Kimberly," and I'm like, I wish I could take credit.
I always tell people, I'm like, we're just trying not to screw it up.
Yeah, exactly, right. It's like more like control rather than credit, right? Like he's just so self-driven and so self-motivated,
very determined.
Predetermined, right? Like that's just the human that he came into this world, and I think that's been one of my biggest lessons in being a parent is to try to just give them space to grow into the human that they're going to be, and give them that space to be this independent individual, whoever it is, and I'd be lying if I'd say there wasn't struggles along the way. I love to surf. Tyler hated the sand and the beach, right? It was like, what are you doing to me? Like, what? And then, you just give the space to let him be who he is and find his way. And now, he's asking us to go work out every day. Last night I took him to his place called Storm. Gets there at 5 and I pick him up at 8:45. And
He's serious.
Yeah. And there's no pressure from us whatsoever.
None.
None.
If anything, there's pressure to try to figure out everything new he asks
Everything
to go
he
do.
wants to do.
Yeah,
Right.
and
He
to
wants
like
to do.
find the balance, right? Like, okay, you know, you're 12, you've got a long time of this, but he's just unique in that way, and
Yeah.
He's hungry.
wonderful to be. Yeah, it's wonderful to be able to be a witness to the
But I'd have
humans
to
that all three of
say,
them are.
just, obviously having front row seats for Tyler in particular, I think that one of the reasons he may have gotten bit by the bug of being, getting into working out and everything is because you would take him. You'd take him a lifetime with you, and he'd
Yeah.
see and experience the environment and get more and more comfortable with the environment. Next thing you know,
He's loving the environment.
wanting to work out and wanting to try classes and do the different workouts. And I think we had a lot of quality time, when Tyler was young, and we would travel quite a bit for conferences and such. He was always with us, and we either had,
mix.
a grandparent or, an aunt and uncle or something along the way, so that when we were busy with work, he had additional supportive family. But the fact that like he's always been with us when we did all of those things, it's not like every time you had to go to a conference, you traveled and you were away from him.
Exactly.
Like we were kind of this little traveling circus. So I think, and it's funny because I was just talking to Rob's parents not too long ago, and we were really reminiscing about those times
days,
because it was such amazing quality time. The different cities we got to experience together, the different
Hotels, restaurants.
all the different
Yeah,
hotels,
yeah.
and how they spoiled Tyler to death. And
Yeah.
it was cool. It was,
And
it was a way to do it.
he'd be on stage, right?
Yeah.
So he'd get bit by the bug again, just being in that environment
Yeah.
for
Sure.
sure. When we were running Empower and doing all those conferences, and
Empower.
I know, right? So funny you have that shirt on today. Yeah,
On purpose.
It is, it's just fascinating, and that's honestly like all I can hope for them is they find their joy. And Danny, my daughter, she was here today taking class, and Jordan's just blossomed into this amazing young lady that's just got this traveling spirit, and she's a dive master living up in Santa Barbara and out in the water helping people learn to dive, and it's just cool,
Active.
right? I mean,
That is great.
Right?
Well, you set a great example. Such a great example, such a nurturing example. And
Yep.
I don't think there could have been a more positive environment that your kids could have grown up in
Exactly.
than the one that they did. So
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because my daughter, again, she just had a baby, so I'm now officially a grandfather.
congratulations,
Yeah,
Granddaddy.
right. She's just a couple days over 6 months. She was here today too, London.
Aw.
And I shared with her. I said, I mean, honestly, like we just talked about, all that I think that we're gifted with these human beings that come into our lives. And
So blessed.
like Kimberly said, like our best, if we can kind of stay out of their way and just give them the environment to grow into the human beings that like predestined to be, they want to be, that gives their spirit the opportunity to rise up and fully develop. And I think again, getting to watch all three of them in their own unique way is it's so fun. And it's hard to stand back and watch them make choices that you wish they'd make a different choice, but it's just part of the process.
Part of the process and the best seats in the house.
I know, right?
Good for you.
Love it.
Yep.
So how would you guide other dads to help them encourage their kids to have a healthy relationship with health, fitness, wellness?
Yeah, I think it comes back to role modeling, right? Like really like recognizing, and again, we all have those opportunities. I have to look at my relationships to electronics and go, hey, that's what I'm role modeling to my
I'm
son.
not saying a word.
Right, I said it for you. I said it for you, right? And just recognize that lectures are worthless, right? Like don't lecture kids. Just set the example, and then watch them mature into the human beings that they are based on the examples and the environment that they've been in, and try to give them the healthiest environment to grow up in. And so I would just say that, like, give them the space to be the people that they were predestined to be, and be mindful that what you're doing speaks much, much louder than what you're saying.
What you're saying. Yeah,
Requires a lot of trust.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, when
Sure.
one of the best things that I ever experienced, there's this program, I think it's out of Germany, called and it's for infants, and it's so interesting because it's the antithesis of like that helicopter parent. And for infants, the whole thing is, and you can only have your child go to it until they can walk. And so they put all these infants in this space, and in the middle they put all these like colanders, and it's all like just things that you'd have around the house. They try to have it be natural things like wooden spoons and stuff like that. And then they put them in the middle, and your job is to just let the infants experience the space. And the parents, like, again, more for their own ego and their own concern than for the kids, would watch, and you watch the infant go over, maybe they pick up one of the wooden spoons, and then the other one picks up like this colander, and they're playing uniquely, and then or individually, and then one of them sees the other one, sees the spoon, they're kind of interested, they crawl over, and they grab the spoon. And the parent wants to jump in and go, honey, you need to share, come on, like, and you can't. Like, that's the guidelines of this class.
Right.
Like, you just have to walk.
Don't jump in.
And
Yeah,
the only time you can interact is if somebody's going to get hurt, right? If there's a safety situation. Otherwise, you got to trust in the experience. But it's so fascinating because one of three things would happen. The child would grab the spoon back. The child would cry, or the child would move away and get interested in something else. And to have, like, just let that happen, right? And to let them already start to have an emotional health of figuring it out on their own, that just really stuck with me through all of the kids, and just be like, trust that process. I think it's our approach to yoga, right? Like, let
just be.
The students find the space within and have the experience,
Mm-hmm.
and try to intervene as little as possible, as opposed to the opposite.
Sure. Yeah.
Love
Great life lesson in yoga.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. So how, Rob, do you use your experience as a parent to connect with and better serve your clients and community who are balancing fitness and their family responsibilities?
It's funny too, in these few years of being in this industry, what's changed the most for
Just
me
a couple.
is about the realization this is all about connection.
Yeah.
We are in the business of connection and relationships, and we're in a performing art that, like, you could go and watch a play and sit in a seat, you could go and watch a concert and sit in a seat, but you get to participate.
Yeah.
And you get to participate with us, and in this active, hopefully healthy way of life. And it's about those connections. And I think whatever you can do to create a bond so that there's a relationship, and it's not like I'm the teacher and you're the student.
Right.
It's about, hey, we're all in this together, and this is a time for us to come together to think about taking care of ourselves so we can be better available to others in a healthy body, in a healthy mind, hopefully. So it helps build relationships. Talking about your kids and sharing those stories really helps for all the parents that are in the room.
Sure.
And for the people that aren't, the anecdotal portion of that, still brings a sense of humor, a lightness, and a connection that everybody can find and experience. So yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah, bringing the human element in is super, super key, and lets people know that you're approachable, that you're relatable, and you are just another person just like that.
Yeah, you're human too. And the fact that, okay, here for the parents in the room, like, here's another parent who is making fitness a priority. So it kind of affirms their choice to be a parent, because so often, we think, okay, if I'm not with my kid, then I experience this guilt that I'm not with them.
Right.
Yeah.
But then if I'm with them, then there's guilt for not doing this other thing, whether it be work or self-care or fitness, whatever. So I think by, again, like you were saying earlier, setting the example, this time it's the example for the participants and the clients versus your children. So
yeah, I mean, I think you speak to this all the time in your classes, and it's so true, and you share the quote all the time, but it's just that whole idea that you can't help others if you're empty, right? You've got to fill your cup. You've got to fill up. And you got to have extra, or you get depleted. And the instructors out there get depleted, and they get burnt out, and it's because they're running on empty. So it's like, you got to take care of yourself. through all of the things, through recovery, through nutrition, through sleep, through fitness, and through friends and fun, right? You gotta do that so that you have the ability to be available to all of your relationships, especially your kids.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the mistake, right? When people go, oh, I just don't have time for working out, they get burnt out, right? They feel bad. And it's the opposite of what people think, and it's so strange, right? Like fitness gives energy, it doesn't take it away.
Right.
You know, and you have to remember that. You're like, oh, I'm so tired, I need to go work out. And you have people go, oh, I'm so tired, I can't go work out. But if you do, you'll have more energy.
Yeah.
And so when
Funny
you
that
feel
works.
that mindset, you've got to go, right? You got to go. You got to wake up, you got to go. Your whole day is better. And then your relationships are better. And again, back to your children, you're just more available to them because you've checked that box. You're not thinking, oh my gosh, when am I going to get my fitness in? You know, I'm not feeling great in my body. I'm not feeling great in my skin, all that stuff. You're like, that's done. Now I can really show up.
Yeah. Harmony achieved.
Yes.
So you just gave a great piece of advice when it comes to self-care in particular, but if you could give yourself, your younger self, another piece of advice when it comes to thriving as both a dad and a fitness pro, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh man, I think just faith and confidence, you know, just trust. I think that, you know, it's so funny. I'm still anxious and nervous every time I step in to teach a class after all these years.
Me
you
too.
know, every
Me too.
time. And it's like just knowing like my job is to show up for them and be there for them and, you know, use all of these years of experience to just help and serve. And just like getting in your head only it's bad for everybody, right? So I think if I could tell my younger self anything, you know, you're not an imposter. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. Show up and give what the gifts that you've been given to share, and let everything else take care of itself.
Let it flow. Let it go.
Yeah.
Advice. Hope everybody's listening.
Right. So this is off the question list. However, you mentioned something about, you know, having that sense of being an imposter. Do you still have that sense? Do you still feel that even now to this day ever?
Sure.
Like imposter syndrome.
Yeah. You know, honestly, it's so interesting because I've just developed a new program called CTR, Core Tone and Reform. And you know, when I was young, I did stop Pilates with John and just this incredible training, and it was so good. And at that time, my journey took me the yoga path and the Pilates path, right?
Sure.
Now, you know, just always again trying to figure out how to get more people healthy and active. You know, Pilates is come full circle. So with this opportunity, and it's been on my mind for a long time, to really develop an athletic reformer workout. And you know, I've felt this in different situations. You know, it's kind of like when people used to argue about rhythmic riding and railroad riding on a stationary bike, and they'd be like, okay guys, let's begin at it's a stationary bike. Okay, you can approach it as a simulator for real riding. That's the great thing, and you can have a great time on it. But it's for cardiovascular health, and we're in the business of getting people to move more, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, or the argument of warrior sculpt or yoga sculpt, whatever you call it, it's not real yoga. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how we define real yoga, because real yoga is about, you know, helping to stop the fluctuations of the mind and be present. And I find when people are most active and in the thing, in the flow, they're present. But that's another topic.
Sure.
But that's okay, you know. And so the same thing. So now initially I'm like going, okay, I am not the Pilates expert. And I know I'm not the Pilates expert. And I've leaned into a lot of people who are a lot smarter than me. But I can use all of my awareness of body and movement to bring that to this new program and deliver an exceptional experience on a reformer.
Yeah. And
Which, by the way, he has been doing, because that program is launched at the Irvine Lifetime and is crushing it. Every single class has a wait list of many.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
I think I saw a screenshot of a wait list of like 60 some people trying to get into one particular class.
Love it. That's unheard of.
And it's
so I think you did
wonderful.
okay.
But it's that same thing to your question. You know, I had to come to grips with it and go, okay. And that's what's so wonderful is like if you really want to learn about Pilates, I have so many amazing people that I will refer you to learn the essence of classic Pilates,
Sure.
really done in the way that Joseph Pilates had set it up to do. Yeah, you know. Now this is, you know, a cousin of Pilates, just like cardio kickboxing. I would never say to somebody, if you want to learn self-defense, take a cardio kickboxing class, right?
Good luck with that.
Not the way. I'm going to be worried for you in an alley if you think that your cardio kickboxing is going to get you out of trouble. Okay. So it's the same thing here. But if you want
Unless
to
they
get
have a
more
body
touch-
bar.
right? Exactly. Right. But you want to have better posture, better alignment, better movement control, and have a great time, and improve your kinesthetic awareness, and again, posture and core connection. This is going to be fantastic for you.
Sure.
And if you love to do it and you move more, and wherever it takes you on your journey, amazing.
Yeah.
But
That's a win.
to answer your question, yeah, it's a huge win. But walking in the room and having people who know a lot more about Pilates than I do, you run into that. You're like, you know, that nerves and imposter syndrome and all that stuff.
Well, I think that, and I appreciate your honesty. You know, it's refreshing to hear someone of your caliber, your experience, still have that, in this case, very temporary sense of, of that imposter syndrome. Because for people who are newer, the newer instructors out there, I think it's really important for them to hear that. It's important for me to hear that too. And I consider myself kind of experienced now to
Kind of, just sort of.
So that's awesome to hear. And I love I love the analogy that you gave for the yoga examples, the kickboxing examples. So true.
It's spot on.
So true.
And you know what I love? I love that you took on the challenge of launching this program, knowing that what you bring to the table is something that can make it successful, which it has. And that doesn't mean that you didn't do your homework, because I know very well that you did. I mean, I think for the last 6 months, he's been to every Pilates studio across Southern California, just studying and
research, doing your homework.
Did and do, right? That's what we do, right? And again, you know, I'm a huge fan of every place that, you know, that has dedicated and committed themselves to make people healthier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So anything else that you would want to share with our audience with regards to, you know, being a parent who works in the health and fitness industry, creating that alignment, thriving in what you do, or just in general?
All I think I'll say in parting is just have the confidence and the trust and faith in yourself of what you're doing and how you're living will rub off. And if there's those moments that your children are taking a path that is unsettling, just continue to be a great role model.
Can I share one little anecdotal story? This is actually really sweet. When our son was younger, he, like every other kid pretty much on the planet, liked sugar.
Okay.
And there are certain influences in his life that like to supply him with sugar because it made him happy. And so, like, he liked candy, he liked baked goods.
Just like any other kid.
Any other kid on the planet, right? And so Rob and I would talk about it and be kind of concerned.
Sure.
That we're like, you know, he's really leaning into this, you know, unhealthy eating pattern. And, you know, because knowing what we know, where our brains automatically go is like, you know, future diabetes and all this stuff. And now fast forward just a few years later, and now what I'm hearing is us trying to get our son to eat more.
Yeah.
Well, I try to get him to eat sugar so I can too, because our son doesn't eat sugar anymore. But he's on like a no added sugar kick.
Wow.
But just trying to eat more, period.
Right.
Like, you know, like, honey, if you're going to work out that hard, you've
based on
got to
his
eat more
activity level.
protein and things like that. It's so interesting.
It is so interesting.
So that's a perfect example of just trust.
Yeah.
Like we were worried. And we've even talked about this and kind of joked about it, that we were worried at one point, and then look what happened. Look how it played out.
Yeah.
And what did that worrying get us?
Yeah.
Probably these.
Gray hair.
A few more wrinkles. A few more wrinkles for sure.
But it didn't change the
A little
game.
less hair up here, but you know.
It's all good. Part of the process.
Yes.
I love it.
Well, good stuff. Well, Rob, share with our listeners where you can be found, where they can follow you, and also any other projects that you're currently working on that you're proud of and that you're excited to share.
Sure. Super proud of the CTR program, so please come experience it a lifetime. And all of our classes. Our classes are phenomenal.
They
our
rock.
Yoga, Life Power Yoga, Cycle, you know, our what we call our signature group training, but GTX, alpha conditioning. So please come and be our guests. All three of us teach at Lifetime, so you could be our guests at a Lifetime. Reach out. You can find me on Instagram. I'm posting all the time, so please just DM me, send me a message on Instagram. I would love to hear from you. My Insta is Rob, R-O-B, Glick, G-L-I-C-K-1. And yeah, stay in touch.
The one and only.
One and only.
I love it.
Awesome.
Well, that conversation was personal, powerful, and packed with perspective as well. And as you heard, Rob Glick isn't just a fitness pioneer, like we said earlier. He's a dad who understands really the real strength that it's not just found in exercise. It's found in the everyday moments, in the choices that we also make to grow, and also how we show up for people that we love.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mr. Glick, thank you so very much for sharing your journey. I knew some bits and pieces of it, but
just a couple.
It was awesome getting to be able to share from your perspective with all the listeners and those who watch us on YouTube. So, you for as long as I have known you, you've always been an innovator. You've always been resourceful. You're one who continues to evolve, to inspire, to empower, which is why when we had our event, we called it Empower. You lead with intention. Empower. There she goes, pointing at her boobs again. Empower. And then, of course, you're an incredible role model, which is exactly what you want to be, an incredible example, and just an incredible dad to Tyler. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And both you, Kimberly, Terry, thank you so much. And I have the pleasure of taking your classes, and you're such amazing fitness professionals. So thank you for all you do and all the lives you've touched.
Thank you.
Well, so to all of you listening, if this episode moved you, and I'm sure it did, please, we encourage you and appreciate you passing it on. Tag a dad, a mentor, or somebody who really needs to hear that the greatest legacy we leave isn't what we build, but it's who we build up along the way. So,
amen. Yeah. Definitely like, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, leave comments or send us messages over on Instagram, and we'll get back to you. We love to hear from you. If you have any questions for Rob, let us know. We'll pass those along to him and make sure you get connected there. And we just really appreciate you being a part of the Group X Appeal family.
Yes. So that's what Dads Who Empower is all about, and we're still getting started. So thank you, Rob Glick, for joining us today. So awesome to have you. And you were on our list of like the key
gotta have. Here's a gotta have.
Yeah, gotta have.
He was a gotta have when we first started the podcast.
When we first started the podcast, we're like,
we created a list, and you're on our gotta have list. And then we decided to do the dad series. It's like,
yes,
duh.
of course.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. You too.
Thanks for saying yes. So that's it for episode number 42. I'm Terry Shorter.
I'm Kimberly Glick.
And we encourage you to have a great day. And why?
Because it's a great day to have.
It sure is. Peace out.
Much love.